outside support. Well, let's cross live now to Professor Nick Westcott, Director of the Royal African Society and a former British Ambassador and High Commissioner for the region. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor. Let me ask you, first of all, a lot of what we've been talking about on the BBC and you know, throughout the media is about people trying to escape the country. But I think the key thing to remember is there is still a need for a brokering of peace within the country. Where is that path to peace? What does it look like?
The path to peace runs both through the two warring factions that need to, at some point, agree to a real ceasefire and stop the continuing aggression that's going on. Secondly, it needs to involve the people of Sudan themselves, the civilian population, the domestic politicians who have been trying to achieve a transition to a civilian government since the ousting of President Bashir in 2019. But thirdly, and this is the crucial factor, it needs to involve the international community who need to get their act together and speak with one voice, which at present they are not doing.
Why are they not doing this? Why are they not doing this? Why is this not happening? It seems quite simple when you speak a bit about it like that.
Yes, the neighbouring countries are both very concerned that the disorder will spread across their borders, but also there are some who are backing one side against the other. Egypt has had a long-standing friendship with General Burhan, leader of the Sudan Armed Forces and sort of de facto president at the moment. But other countries, from Libya in particular, Eritrea, have been backing the rival, the paramilitary leader, General Dagalo, known as Hemeti. And until those forces outside who are still supplying the warring factions cut off those supplies, and the source of money that the Hemeti controls the gold that is exported from the country goes to the UAE. The UAE takes the gold, sends money back. He can therefore buy more petrol, more ammunition. And likewise, Burhan is being supplied by some of his friends. Until those supplies stop, both sides are going to think they can win.
So what is the role of the wider international community here?
Well, that's a critical point, and the African Union is trying to get the neighbouring countries behind a single proposal to begin negotiations, along with the regional organisation IGAD. It's covers the Horn of Africa. But the United Nations has a role to play as well. And those who have leverage, and the EU, UK, US have leverage through their economic influence and their potential sanctions. China actually has leverage because it has a lot of business. It runs a large part of the oil industry in Sudan. And Russia is reputed to be shipping in arms as well. That has to stop. So there is a wider community. The US, EU, UN, and AU are talking now. I'm here in Nairobi partly because that is going on, and trying to get a delegation in that will bring the two sides together in a real ceasefire and to start a process of negotiation that will bring a new civilian government to place. But, you know, we're a little way yet. Not all the actors are aligned.
I know, and given what you've been saying, the looking ahead at what potentially this could end up becoming, the humanitarian crisis we're seeing now almost seems like a tiny bit of what potentially could befall this country.
There is a nightmare scenario, and it's not the only unstable country in the region. Somalia had a 20-year civil war from which it is emerging. Ethiopia has just had a 2-year civil war in effect, and that we're just brokering a peace there. There is a nightmare scenario where the whole region begins to disintegrate into warring factions. Everybody grabs their own arms, their own bit of resources, and they're fighting each other. And the further it slides down that route, Libya, another neighbouring country, and that's in a state of sort of semi-permanent instability. It could become a real nightmare for everybody living in the region. And that's why it's very important the international community gives a single clear message immediately, and they cooperate in trying to contain the crisis and get people back to the negotiating table. Otherwise, the humanitarian situation is deteriorating all the time. The economy is broken. A lot of people are going to rely on the UN to get food in. And the first step actually is a ceasefire that enables humanitarian aid to come in. But that's only a short term. That's a sticking plaster. We have to address the fundamental causes.
OK, well, it's been so good to talk to you, Professor Nick Westcott. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.